Coming up on Outlook, the skies over Bowling Green, they're a little bit busier these days as the community now offers daily commuter flight service to parts south. On the program today, the economic and social impact of the flexibility of flight. And later in the show, if you're a fan of the WKU PBS series Lost River Sessions, guess what? We're going live. Stay tuned. Outlook is next. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Outlook. I'm Barbara Deeb, your host. On the show today, well, it took nearly half a century, but once again, daily commuter air service is now available out of Bowling Green. The twice daily flights to Atlanta, Georgia, a major international hub, and seasonal flights to Destin-Fort, Florida, have passengers and economists watching with interest. To find out more, we welcome to the program the manager of the Bowling Green Warren County Regional Airport, Rob Barnett. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
Well, before we go any further, you know, a lot of you might have heard what I just said and said, what, it took nearly a half century. Give us a little historical perspective on commuter flight.
Looking over the airline history and the trends in the history, if you can remember back in early to mid 1970s, you had many choices, airlines to choose from, 30, 35 choices. And through regulation, through deregulation, through a lot of changes in the political structure, changes with the Federal Aviation Administration, we saw over a period of 30 years the airlines significantly decrease across the board, whether it be a merger, a bankruptcy, or what have you. So today we have 5 major airline carriers operating and transporting about 80% of the passengers in the United States. So through all those processes, we saw a significant decline in the carriers and the opportunities for people to choose. So it's been a struggle. It's been a feat. I have personally been on this venture for about 8 years, trying to recruit an appropriate airline to bring it in and serve our community. Marrying the right airline to our community was most important, and then establishing a structure, a route structure to service the needs fitting the travel patterns of the people in our region, our 10-county region, was a long and arduous process.
Like pieces of a puzzle, huh? Having to put them together. So how do you determine the flight patterns, if you will, of the people in this region?
You know, back in 2013, the Bowling Green Warren County Regional Airport Board tasked me with hiring a consultant. So we went through the selection, the advertising, the selection process, and we picked a consultant, Sixel Consulting, and that is their expertise, is small community air service development. And we've been working hand in hand with Sixel for many years now. And actually, I had some relationships through professional organizations with some of their representatives, and I tasked them with, can you tell me how many people in this 10-county region purchase airline tickets in a year's time?
We went 10-county region. Is that because Brad, the Barren River Area Development District?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You look at your catchment area, and your catchment area realistically consists of how many people are traveling through your county to get to air service.
This word is catchment?
Catchment area.
Okay.
Yes,
okay.
Catchment area. All of those people residing in our 10-county catchment area, how many of those people, how many people buy airline tickets in a year's time, in a 12-month period? There were 721,000 airline tickets purchased in 2013 from our catchment area.
Wow.
So
that's
if we
a lot of airline tickets.
That's a lot of airline tickets, and if we could catch 1 or 2% of those, we will be wildly successful in our venture.
I see. So that's how the determination was made. So we know people in this region are buying airline tickets, but they've got to be going all over the world. So how do we narrow it down to this would be appealing to a mass audience to offer flights to this point or to this point?
Absolutely. You break that down into leisure traveler and business traveler. And when we look at the business traveler and go out into the region and the larger companies and say, you know, where are you folks going? What's your destination? What's your origination? What's your travel budget? And all throughout all of these meetings, we had such a positive response flying through Atlanta. The weather in Atlanta is much more favorable than Chicago. The cost of doing business is much more favorable than Chicago. And accessibility, believe it or not.
Because it's an international hub. You
Absolutely.
can go anywhere from Atlanta.
Thousands of connections offered out of Atlanta. We took our inaugural flight on August the 29th down to Atlanta. And Barb, within 2.5 minutes, we were in the terminal. Within 3 minutes, we were at the international connection portion of the terminal, and shortly thereafter we're walking past airline gates that will connect you to London, Paris, Austria, wherever you'd like to go. It's amazing, and you're only an hour away from that sitting in Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Which is, okay, so speaking of that hour away from that, Bowling Green, Kentucky, you looked at the 10-county Brad area, that 9 contiguous counties to Warren, to determine where you were going to fly to, okay? Now, it still takes some people in the 10-county area at least an hour to get here.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Looking at the travel patterns of those people that purchase the airline tickets, 96% of our catchment area utilizes Nashville International Airport.
Okay.
And the main reason is they don't like losing an hour when they travel north to Louisville.
Into a different time zone.
Different time zone.
Yeah.
Plus the travel time. You know, in this catchment area, it's a little longer of a travel time to get to Louisville.
That makes sense.
So 96% of those folks are traveling through Nashville. We lose a small percentage to Owensboro and a small percentage on the western part of the state to Paducah as well. But 96% of those 720,000 airline tickets are being purchased, and those folks are traveling right down to Nashville, you know, using our interstate system, spending those dollars in the state of Tennessee versus spending them in Kentucky.
In Bowling Green, Kentucky at that. So Contour Airlines, they won, was it a bidding process? How did you come, or was it just you fit what we're looking for?
You know, I have met with 21 airlines over a period of 8 years. Some are no longer in business, as you can imagine, with the high cost of doing business in that industry today. Out of those 21, we've met with major network carriers, with the American, the United, the Delta, the Southwest. We've met with all of those folks. Unfortunately, they declined our mitigation package. One, because they're already in Nashville,
Sure.
Tennessee. They're 60 miles away. Duplication of services, not a necessity for them. And number two, we're an unproven market. We haven't had airline service in 44 years, so to that Delta or that United, we're a significant risk to move their assets and make that investment into our community. So we're in the business of taking people off the interstate, putting them on an airplane, giving them a small town, convenient, easy access, free parking type experience out of Bowling Green with as many connections as you would ever want out of Atlanta, and then a leisure destination like Destin-Fort.
Like Destin-Fort. We're going to talk some more about that, and I know you're wanting to know how much do the flights cost, when do they leave? Well, we're going to tell you all about that when Outlook continues with Rob Barnett right after this. Outlook continues here on your public television station. I'm Barbara Deeb, and we are talking about Commuter air service, and it's now available in Bowling Green. Finding out a little bit more about that is Rob Barnett joins us once again for segment 2. We talked about the fact that you know, it took years, literally years, to get to the point where we are, and as of August 2016, Bowling Green now once again offers Commuter air service. Now, in the first segment, you talked about how strategic you had to be and what a process it was to finally decide on Contour Airlines to come in. You also talked about the fact that a study was done to determine where you're going to fly, okay? So Atlanta made sense.
Yes.
People prefer that.
People prefer Atlanta for the connections and the sheer number of connections out of Atlanta, plus the weather. For 4 or 5 months out of the year, you run the risk of delays out of Chicago
True.
with the weather. So all of those were factors in making the decision to fly into Atlanta, looking at all the travel patterns of the businesses, the population, the students at Western,
Sure.
where they reside, and looking at all those things. Atlanta just seem to work best from an economic standpoint.
Well, now we also have show and tell. We have some, you brought some images
Sure.
to share with us. And one of the first images we're going to see is when you talk about flying out of a smaller airport like the Bowling Green Warren County Regional Airport, you still have to go through security. And that's one of the first images that we're going to see. However, so we have federal TSA agents working there?
We do. Another long process, and it's an absolute definite piece of the puzzle that has to happen. If we're going to send passengers from our community, they have to be screened and sterile going into Atlanta. So in order for a passenger to make a connection in Atlanta, they have to be screened by the TSA on the front end of their travel experience. So the TSA made over a $500,000 investment in equipment, personnel, facility to actually install all the equipment necessary in our temporary terminal. And Barb, the average wait in our TSA is about 4.5 minutes.
4.5, he said. And you know, and then at which point, if you go on to Atlanta and you're flying internationally or to somewhere else, you don't have to get screened again.
That's correct.
Because you've already been screened.
That's
okay,
correct.
so looking at some of these images, this is now what the Bowling Green Warren County Regional Airport looks like. We now have a TSA screening facility. The Contour Airlines seats approximately how many?
29 passengers.
29 passengers. We have a pilot and a co-pilot?
We have a pilot, a co-pilot, we have a flight attendant, we have beverage service on board, we have a lavatory. It's a pressurized airplane. The airplane's 350 knots. It'll cruise at 25,000 feet, so you can get above the weather. Thunderstorms and things of that nature, you can get up above the weather, so it won't cause a delay. Very economical airplane to operate. It's cost effective, it's very reliable. The pilots are experienced. They're managed by Corporate Flight Management, a company that owns Contour Airlines.
Which is based, Contour's based
in Smyrna, Tennessee.
Smyrna, Tennessee.
So if we have an issue with that particular airplane, maintenance or what have you, there's another airplane just 16 flight minutes away.
16 flight, you heard it here. Okay, so of course you had to look at their safety record, and you know you wanted to be sure that you were bringing in someone that had a stellar safety record, and they do.
Absolutely. The due diligence of this particular project was months, to be quite honest with you. I was getting to the point of impatience was taking over in putting this into play. Contract negotiation, due diligence, the safety record first and foremost, reliability, dependability, equipment, certifications, all of that comes before you start building facilities and putting infrastructure in place to accommodate the passenger. So this has been an 8-year process, and we've been working to attract an airline, but we've been working with Contour for probably 6 or 7 months to really put this in place, to firm up all the agreements. Contour currently serves Tupelo to Nashville as well.
Tupelo, Mississippi to Nashville.
Absolutely. We looked at that record. We looked at on time, we looked at dependability, reliability, equipment problems. They were 99.7% on time on that route from Tupelo to Nashville, Nashville back to Tupelo.
Wow.
So that was an important piece of the puzzle to make sure that this company is sound on the ground, sound on the air, and can deliver the customer experience in a convenient and a affordable way.
That sounded like a commercial right
Oh,
there.
absolutely, absolutely.
But let's talk a little bit about, okay, so they're flying to Atlanta, 2 flights a day, and then you decided on Destin-Fort Walton because a large cohort, a lot of people in these parts head south and go to Destin and Fort Walton, certainly college students for spring break. Now, but that's seasonal, right?
That is seasonal. For the time being, we wanted to test the market. You have feelings about business and studies and economics and all those things and talking to people. Our assumptions were true. Our studies proved themselves to be true. Our load factors for Destin are through the roof. We're very, very successful on the Destin routes. We haven't sold all of the inventory, but we've sold most of the inventory through October 31st. Our Atlanta market is more of a business traveler-oriented market, and it'll take a little bit longer to mature. We're doing good in the Atlanta market. We're doing very well. So we're working the Atlanta more so than the Destin because the Destin has sold itself. But you're exactly right. It's amazing how many people travel to Destin, Florida.
Let's talk cost now, because we're quickly
Sure.
running out of time. So someone watching the program is excited that now they can get to Atlanta very quickly, they can get to Destin-Fort Walton seasonally, but how much is it going to cost?
I want to emphasize to everyone, especially the students at Western and anyone else considering booking tickets on the airline.
Contour Airlines.
Absolutely. The further out in advance you book, the cheaper the tickets are. So they're $79 to Atlanta each way, 21 days in advance when you book those out. The longer you wait, the more expensive the airline tickets with any airline
Sure.
in the world. That's their pricing methodology. But it's $79 21 days in advance to Atlanta and $99 21 days in advance to Destin.
So be aware of that. Now, we just started with this commuter air service, bringing it back to Bowling Green after more than 4 decades. So it goes to Atlanta, goes to Destin-Fort Walton. How is it then that the Bowling Green Warren County Airport, the community, how are we going to evaluate its success? Will there come, what kind of measures do you have in place?
Oh,
for
I
that?
think, the experience on the airplane, the experience in the terminal facility, the folks sitting around you on the airplane, those pre-flight discussions that, you've flown many times, I'm sure, before the airplane gets up off of the ground and everyone lays back in the seat to relax or put their earbuds in or whatever. We measure based on load factors is the way we measure. We count the passengers at the gate. We talk to them about their experiences. We had our first international traveler the other day from Russellville, Kentucky, coming in from a foreign land. So we sat down and talked with that young man, and he was ecstatic that this was an opportunity for him to travel abroad now. But we got to keep it affordable. And that's the main consideration right up front for selling those tickets. We wanted to make sure it was affordable for not only the student at Western, but for the business traveler as well.
As well. City, county, state, federal funding involved in this?
It's all in there, Barb.
Okay.
Over a period of 8 years, I was tasked with putting together a risk mitigation package. That risk mitigation package helps reduce the risk of the airline making an investment in your community because airplanes are so expensive to operate. So we have a risk mitigation package that consists of federal, state, local, and private money. And we also have other incentives, fee waivers, and things of that nature, reduced rental space in the terminal building. All of that combined is about $1.25 million, which was an absolute necessity to attract an airline into our community.
Gotcha. Listen, thank you for coming
Sure,
in and sharing
sure.
this story. We're going to put up a telephone number if you want more information about the Contour Airlines commuter flights flying out of Bowling Green, Kentucky. And we'll get you back in here throughout and just kind of
Please
see
do.
how things are going.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. Now, Outlook's going to continue. If you are a fan of the PBS, the WKU PBS locally produced music program, Lost River Sessions, have we got a story for you? Stay tuned.
Change the sound check. Yeah. You'll sing too? Vocals and everything? Yeah. Okay. It's 1935, dust and blizzard choked the hills. The dirt long, long rose until the sky was filled. The great plains were burning, the grasslands, they were dead. Black clouds was building, it brought the razor's wind. The mother and the children, the men could not defend. The dust bowl and cars as it rang down vicious sin. Families travel north in search of cleaner, clearer skies.
And there you have it, the Dead Broke Barons, which happened to be, for archival purposes, the pilot episode of a show called Lost River Sessions, the brainchild of WKU PBS and several people who we're going to be joined by today. The program is Outlook. I'm Barbara Deeb. Darius Barati joins us. He is the producer of Lost River Sessions. In addition, Emil Moffett joins us. Now, he wears many hats. He's the station manager at WKU NPR, but also if you listen to the radio version of LRS, Lost River Sessions, you will hear Emil's voice. He produces it. Thanks for being here. We're excited. You know, we don't want to toot our own horn, but we're really excited. We want to share the story of this locally produced program that is going nationwide, and it's also coming back local and live. Tell us what we're talking about.
Well, we basically started the show, and that clip there was from our pilot episode. And at the time, we didn't know that it would be a series. We literally went into that band, the Dead Broke Barons from Franklin, Kentucky. They were actually going to do a live album. So everyone that was assembled there was just there to see this recording, and then they were going to turn that into a CD. Now, when we heard about the idea and the idea came to us, we said, well, let's take some cameras there and try to capture that whole moment. But we did it thinking it would be a one-time thing, and it was not until that we kind of were there and then we started to piece together the edits for that we realized maybe we could do this on a pretty regular basis and maybe even continue to move the location around for each shoot instead of being just in a studio environment. So we were able to start what is now about to begin its third season of the show.
Third season of Lost River Sessions. And then just recently we took it to radio. We thought, well, guess what? We have a sister NPR station. You know, let's share it with our radio audience.
The audio on the shows is just amazing. And I think part of that is because when they're filmed, they're not amplified. And so you don't get that kind of the echo sound of a live recording. It's a really true, almost a studio type sound in a kind of a concert atmosphere. And so we thought that would be perfect to put on radio. And we're also able to have a couple more, have a little more time. We do an hour episode and we do 30 minutes for each band. And we're able to have just a little bit more time to maybe squeeze one or two more songs that maybe didn't appear originally, or maybe there's some commentary from the bands. They were able to have that on tape as well, and so we provide that to our audience, and it was a perfect fit for radio, just the way it's recorded and the way it's mixed so beautifully.
Well, perfect fit because NPR, of course, is known for its amazing offerings in the area of roots music. If you had to define the genres that we hear on LRS, Lost River Sessions, how would you define them?
It's great, you know, the kind of the all-encompassing term, Americana, roots music, bluegrass, folk, and it's really becoming kind of an all-encompassing genre of music, and it's great, I think, because it's not limiting. It's not just, okay, here's bluegrass all the time. It's, you know, sometimes it's an electric guitar or keys, or just a singer-songwriter, which necessarily wouldn't be considered bluegrass. So I think getting it beyond just that, you know, we are the bluegrass state, we love bluegrass music, but being able to expand it to be all-inclusive, it's just a perfect variety. And the great thing is you listen to them and you go, well, that's this style or that style. You say, that's good music.
It's just good, and it sounds good. The recording is so good. We'd like to talk so much more about this, but one of the reasons we've gathered you here today is to talk about the fact that when you see this program, when you're watching it, we will have already completed one of the live Lost River Sessions. Now, when we make the show, when we make the TV show, we are in production mode, if you will. But now the thinking is, let's take it to the people, and that's what's happening.
Yeah, Emil made a point to this, and it's true that when we do the recordings, it's all done in a way that is built to sound good for the microphones. We do have an audience there, but everything there is for that television episode or the radio episode. So one of the things we realized we wanted to do was to be able to put these bands in front of an actual audience and let the audience just be there and enjoy the music in a way that they didn't have to be quiet during the takes, so that we could sit there and get the best audio, that they can actually appreciate the music, tap their feet if they want
Clap,
to. Or
yell,
exactly,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Which it's music that lends itself to that. So that was one experience that we didn't feel like we were necessarily giving people through the TV show that we can hopefully do with these live events that we're trying to put together at the Capitol Arts Center.
So this is a collaboration between a iconic local venue, the Capitol Arts Center, which is a part of SkyPack. And so the next live show will be held in October?
Yeah, October 27th, and we'll also have one in November as well. And they're always going to be on Thursday nights, and it's just going to be a great opportunity to go downtown, maybe grab some dinner, go see the show, go hang out downtown. And Bowling Green has just such a beautiful downtown to be able to add this to it as kind of a consistent monthly musical event that you just want to go to. You want to check out who's playing and head to it and make a whole Thursday night out of it. I think it's going to add a lot to the city.
Well, and it's emerging talent. You know, the show Lost River Sessions on WKU PBS, how do you decide who you're going to feature?
You know, it really comes down to, we have almost an embarrassment of riches with some of the musical influences that flow through our area. So you look at our proximity to Nashville, the music that comes from right here, then you look at the Appalachian Trail, which has so many influences as well, and then you get the Mississippi River not far away, and all of those influences that would move into, say, Louisville with their, originally the jug bands and things that grew out of that. So we don't have any trouble finding at least a level of talent that we feel is sufficient for the program. And honestly, it just comes down to, does the music make you feel something? Does it fit kind of what we've done up to this point in the program? And is there, we don't care necessarily how many records this person has sold or how many videos they have out. For us, it's about, is this good music and is this an experience? If you're flipping through channels or you're flipping through the radio and you hear this music, is this something that would give you pause and make you listen? And if it is, then we want to be able to feature that, and that's kind of the thought process that goes into that. And
on the TV show, we take you to iconic local venues as well to bring you this amazing music. Now, congrats. Darius received a regional Emmy for lighting for Lost River Sessions. Last year we got one for sound. We're excited about that. Emil, leave us with some words of wisdom. If you're just tuning in, we're here to talk to you about the fact that Lost River Sessions, the popular PBS television show, is going to be live in Bowling Green on a monthly basis, and the next show?
Next show is going to be October 27th. We'll also have one in November. We're planning into the spring. We'll take a couple months off for the holiday, but then in the spring, we're going to have a few more of these monthly concerts, and so we're hoping to turn this into not only a monthly event, but something that will continue year after year and really be a staple of Thursday nights in Bowling Green.
Thursday nights in Bowling Green. I'm thinking a la Austin City Limits.
That'd be great.
What do you think? And so if they want more information, they can go to the Facebook page?
Yes, you can visit us on Facebook, Lost River Sessions, or our website, lostriversessions.org. We're also on Twitter, which is LR_Sessions, and Instagram. So you can keep up through any of those modes, and we'd love to hear them. We love feedback. So there's also some contacts on there through an email and Facebook messages.
Lots of ways to stay connected, but what a great opportunity to hear really, really good music locally. Thanks to you, Darius Barati, the producer of Lost River Sessions, Emil Moffett, the manager of our NPR station, but also the host of Lost River Sessions on radio. That's going to wrap it up for this week's edition of Outlook. I'm Barbara Deeb. We're glad you joined us.